All righty, welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Tuesday night. I am back. Last week I was given some last-minute Bucks tickets, so I went to the Bucks game last Tuesday. So sorry, kind of not sorry. And the week before, my wife's having surgery, so I was fulfilling husbandly duties that day. But I am back today, and we are going to cover for Simon's topics because Simon is not with us this week. He's working extra for the man. And Jake and Brian and myself are here. We're going to cover for Simon's notes. So we're going to jump in, and after we run the intro, we're going to start with Jake and the pass rush.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
All righty, Jake, let's get it going.
All right, what's up, everybody? How we doing? Another Packer victory over the Bears, 11 in a row. Love that. But as we talk about the pass rush, now people are going to be really down on the pass rush. But there's some contextual things that I want to talk about before I get into the hardcore numbers, okay? One, we didn't stop the outside run. And how many times did we see guys rushing upfield and missing guys and not having outside contain? So you can't really be concerned about pass rush when we're not stopping the outside run and setting that edge, right? Now, as a pass rusher, you're kind of messed up. You're like, do I go for the quarterback? Do I do outside run? The Bears offensive coordinator, and I feel like the Bears offensive game plan was really, really well thought out. I thought it was tremendous. I thought they did a really nice job calling that game. And then on top of that, you look at what Hafley was calling. He was calling a lot of shell defense, a lot of too high safety. So at that point, you're just rushing four. So now you have 4-on-5 or 4-on-6. They're going max protect a lot for the Bears, and now you're on a numbers disadvantage. So now you have two things going against you as a pass rush. But I will say, congratulations to Brenton Cox on his first ever sack. That was absolutely a great play recognition by him. Slayton and Gary also got sacks. We had 3 quarterback hits as well, Enagbare, Cox, and Gary. And then we had 8 hurries. Gary led the way with 3. Enagbare had 2. Van Ness, Walker, and Slayton all had 1 apiece. So overall, when they had to get sacks, they got sacks. They got a couple sacks in that final drive, and then Caleb Williams made a throw. He was a number 1 overall pick. So we're gonna sit here and act like he's been terrible, like he has. He had a good game against the Colts a couple weeks ago when they had a good game plan. But when he was asked to make a throw to a very talented wide receiver core, he made a throw, and now he showed why he was a number 1 overall pick. Right? He was running. They called some design runs for him. That's another thing that hurts the pass rush. And they just had a good game plan. He made 1 play. People were pretty upset about it, but it is what it is. The Packers ended up getting the W at the end of the day. So kudos to the Packers D-line for making a play when they had to at the end of the game, because that's what it came down to, right?
Yeah, and I thought Gary had a pretty strong game. Really, Slayton's sack was because of Gary, too. Gary flushed the pocket and forced Caleb to step up into Slayton. Not to harp on Slayton, it's not like he did anything special. He did get off his tackle and wrap him up and sack him, though, and that's all you're really asking for him to do there. As far as the defensive line, I was, and we'll talk about this, but I didn't love the defensive scheme and the game plan we put forward against Caleb Williams, but we can talk about that later.
Well, so the thing is, and it's not even, I'm going to mention this when we get into coaching. I'm going to just, as we transition into the D-line here, I'm going to give credit to the Bears' new offensive coordinator because of what he did with the game plan for the Bears, and I'm going to just put a pin in it. They have all the playmakers. That's why people are dogging Caleb Williams, calling him a bust, because he has better weapons than Jaden Daniels and Drake May and Bo Nix and Spencer Rattler, even down in New Orleans when he started a couple times. He's got way better weapons. He's got proven weapons like Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. He got a top 10 pick to play wide receiver with him. He's got Cole Kmet, arguably one of the best tight ends in the NFL. So he's got weapons, not to mention DeAndre Swift. So there's weapons there for him. But what the Bears offensive coordinator did really well in this game, in my opinion, was getting the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands.
And that's what killed me a little bit, because last week on the show, I literally said the one thing you can't do is let a struggling quarterback in offense get a bunch of easy completions, and we just kept playing too high, or we were so far off. Look, I get it that they're skilled enough to beat you deep, but until they beat you deep, I want you up in their faces. I want you, you know what I mean? They made a couple plays when we were up in their faces, but I
Right.
wanted that from the get-go. I didn't
Right.
because the last thing you need to do is let a struggling quarterback, a rookie quarterback, he might be good down the line. He's had his good times and his bad times. But last thing you want to do is let someone like that get set into a game because you're letting him complete a bunch of easy passes. And that's what we said last week. And unfortunately, that was the route they took. I've listened to a few podcasts this week already that they're like, well, maybe they did that because they didn't know what the new offensive coordinator was going to bring. So they were trying to play more of like a shell defense or a basic defense. And that could have been it. But for me, it's like, get up in their damn faces. They might have, once jaw went out, it might have affected that. But I just don't. There's too many easy completions for my liking.
And I'm going to come back to that when we get to the coaching, because that's when I'm going to say something about how I'm thinking about Hafley this game. So as for the defensive line, Jake already mentioned Cox. He got the tackle for loss and the first career sack. I think part of the negating the pass rush is those quick passes. It's really hard to try to expect anybody to get home on a 4-man rush when the ball is less than 2 seconds. That wasn't an accident. That was absolutely Chicago's game plan. They're like, hey, how do we not give up 9 sacks this week? Get the ball out of Caleb Williams' hand extremely quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So that's designed to not give up sacks. That's to get rid of the ball as quickly as possible, get the ball out of the backfield so that he can't be sacked with the ball in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
So that said, my other thing with the D-line was I was not necessarily disappointed, but I was, yes, disappointed is the word. I don't want to say like concerned, irritated or anything because it doesn't bother me that much because they've done it. I was just kind of bummed that they didn't contain the running of Caleb Williams like they did against Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray and Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I just don't think they expected it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And that could come back to the different coordinator. I see Steve's comment. One thing that, everyone's like, well, New England got 9 sacks against them. They also were missing their starting tackles on each side against New England. Both of them returned against us. Not saying they're a great offense line, but that does make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, different coordinators, different game plan, I think is a big thing.
Let's be honest. We had 3 sacks. If you told me we averaged 3 sacks a game, that's over 50 in the year. It's not like we did terrible. You know what I mean? We had 3 sacks on the game. It's just that the 2 of them came back to back.
Right. Yep. And on the last drive of the game.
And Ngbari had a couple shots at like really big plays, and he just completely missed them.
It's going to come up in the play breakdowns. All right. So, Bryant, you can just go to it. Steve mentioned poor angles. You can talk about the linebackers and the tackling.
Yeah, I thought the linebackers had a really rough game. I don't know what else Quay needs to put on tape for them to stop making him a 100% snap person. When I was thinking about this, I literally put right now it seems like he's a player that makes a decent amount of the routine plays. Not even all of them, a decent amount of routine plays, but he makes 0 game-changing plays, in my opinion. Or it's very hard to come by. 0 is a little strong because I'll talk about one play he did.
I wouldn't go as far as to say 0. I'd say rare, but it's not like that's much better.
A big play that's like right now he's hurting us more than he's helping us. The touchdown run where he's trying to fire everyone up on the sidelines. He completely whiffed in the hole. There was another play where I think it was Andy Herman. He's like perfectly described this. He said he had a chance to sack him, and then he turned into like one of those wavy guys you see outside of a car dealership. He just stood still and like kind of went like this instead of just running right through him. And you let Caleb Williams hit the check down. So there was 2 big ones. The big play he did make was he broke up that pass, about 30 yards on field, but he was also in a position where he could have intercepted that. Like that's where he can make up for some of that if he picks that off. I know that's being nitpicky, but it's like you want him to see him make a play, and he just really hasn't. Cooper, I thought had a pretty bad game. I think that the speed of, I wouldn't say bad, I guess I would say against Caleb Williams, he took, like Steve said, poor angles. I think hit the speed of Caleb Williams and how fast he could. He's not super fast, but he seemed like he could get up to his speed pretty quickly. I think that surprised Cooper a little bit. And then Wilson and McDuffie, they were hardly on the field. I think they got like 11 and 13 snaps out of the 70-something. I was really surprised to see the snap share so low for them too.
Wilson was 13. McDuffie was 21.
Okay. Oh, I was a little off then. But either way, I was still very surprised to see that snap share so low. And it's just, for me right now, it's like Quay is not playing good enough to be playing all 72 snaps or whatever it is.
Yep.
I get it that he's a green dot, but McKinney can wear the green dot. So, McKinney's on the field nonstop.
I mean,
so
to be honest with you, you could put it on Cooper. He's going to be wearing it next year.
Yeah. And the thing is, when Quay was out a game, it's not like we all of a sudden couldn't communicate on defense. So it's like, I feel like they're in love with Quay because he was a first round draft pick, but he's athletic, but right now his instincts are just not there. So they did combine for 14 tackles, but they missed 3 of them. Quay missed 2 of them. The team as a whole had 10 missed tackles, which is too many. If you're in that 5-6 range, that's pretty, normal, good game. Once you start to hit those
honestly, if I were looking at last year or just in general, I think 8 to 10 is okay. I would say if you're only missing 5 or 6 tackles a game, I would say that's elite given the talent that's in the NFL.
Yeah. Still,
10 is anything below the top of the gray area,
the okay range.
Once you get over 10, then it's
once you hit the double digits, for me, it's probably getting to be too many. In coverage, they did allow the linebackers allowed 6 of 8 for 66 yards, so they weren't particularly good there. And I talked about the one breakup downfield that Quay Walker had, which was good, but you can make a even bigger play if he picks that off or something like that. So we need more from this linebacker crew, and I'll talk about it in the preview of the next game what I think we could maybe do, but I just didn't think they had a very good game.
I need to interject. I'm sorry. We need to give Quay Walker some grace. Just like when a quarterback switches offensive coordinators early in his career, it's tough for him to learn a whole new scheme. Quay Walker is going, and he's a guy that's had a kind of a rough start to his career. He had the first year where he was a little bit too emotional and he got kicked out of some games. The second year, last year, he grew up a lot, but the defense still had its ups and downs. This year, he missed a game or two, but he's been reliable. He's been on the field, right? We talk about why is he playing so many snaps? Well, maybe we can count our blessings, because people want to talk about Jair missing so many games and missing so many snaps. We don't have our starter at that position. We have our starter at linebacker. It could be a lot worse.
I agree with you.
Playing all the snaps.
I agree with you to a point of being in a new defense, but still, when Caleb Zwilling's standing in front of you, you got to just run at him.
Yeah, I understand that.
So at that point,
but
I'm like, I'll meet you halfway, but I think he could lose some snaps. Yeah.
People need to slow down on the Cooper stuff. Cooper is still a rookie. And yes, he has had some flash plays, but he's still a rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw McKinney on Sunday. He looked silly on a play.
And I'm not saying
the best tackling safeties in the league. And the Bears made him look silly in open space. And on the missed tackles thing, that's what DJ Moore does. I understand that it was frustrating, and Valentine is also a backup, and he was put in a lot of positions. Nixon seems to be hit or miss on screenplays sometimes. He recognizes them right away. He doesn't always make the tackle. But that's what DJ Moore does. That's what makes him an elite slot wide receiver, which is why it made no sense why they drafted Odunze, because they had DJ Moore who was so good in the slot.
Look, I'm not saying that Quay should lose all his snaps. I'm saying he shouldn't be playing 100%. And
I'm going to throw a couple things out there. Yes, Justin Evan Williams is also a rookie, and I get that. One of the things I'm going to say, and this is going to sound a little mean, is a lot of what people are going to see and say is going to be peers, which is going to be a lot of social media of people saying, I'm fucking sick of Keyshawn Nixon. He shouldn't be on any football team. He should only be returning or nothing else.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, Keyshawn Nixon, when he was targeted on Sunday, he only allowed a 70 passer rating. He only allowed a 50% completion percentage. But because he gave up the 2 late, the perception immediately goes, okay, he's useless. I hate him. Get him off my team.
I think the issue that people have with Nixon is we're paying him as probably like a top paid slot corner. If you start looking at slot corner pay in the league, and he's not that. But
he's average. He's paid around average. I think
average.
The top slot corner we had this conversation is the one with the Colts, and he's making like 10 mil.
Yeah.
And he's not a returner.
Was someone we all really liked, right? And I think the problem was the Packers thought they were going to have more return chances, but I think teams are like, I don't get
right. And then
what I think the NFL needs to do, and we talked about this, I think they need to move where the kicker kicks the ball from back, so he can't kick it all the way through the end zone.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that these guys that are making these bad plays are studs or anything like that. I'm not trying to say that either, and I'm not going to say the same thing for Quay Walker. But to use the example you just brought up, Bryant, is a guy like Andy Herman who's going to continue. He's an anti-Quay guy. Like, it's
Yeah.
obvious. He's going to go and clip all the plays that continue to prove him right. So there's nobody out there putting together clips of Quay doing the right thing to be like, okay, he's not always in the wrong spot, when you're seeing the videos of, Andy Herman making a compilation of him being in the wrong spot. It's just an unfortunate thing that there's just not quite as much, being able to show the other perspective of it.
Yeah.
So, like, yes, Quay played 72 snaps, and Andy Herman can make a video of him being in the wrong place 5 times, and people are going to be like, oh my God, Quay's fucking horrible. He's always in the wrong spot. But again, you look at it, and I know, I do not like their grades. But Quay Walker was the Packers' 5th graded defensive player this week.
For me, it's just, and I'm not saying take all the snaps away, but he does some things well, and he does some things not as well. So I think what they need to do, and I'll just jump to it now. I was going to talk about it in the preview. I think what I would like to see happen is Xavier McKinney to get the green dot, because he's the only person that, him or Evan Williams, to be honest, because Evan Williams seems like he's going to play all the snaps, but he's a little young. I don't want to put that on his shoulders. So McKinney would be the guy to do it. Put it on him, and then take these linebackers, and what they do best. You know what their roles are, and put them in more positions to succeed until they're really in that position. So maybe Quay goes from 100% of the snaps to 70% of the snaps. McDuffie bumps up on rundowns. Eric Wilson is kind of in there for coverage a little bit. Cooper, he's kind of a mix too. But I could see him losing like, 20-30% of his snaps, and maybe it might help him because are you using more for pass rushing downs? And you put you Quay on 3rd down. If Quay on 3rd and 5 and long is decent, because he's given up a decent amount of coverage, but he can be sticky enough to where at least he makes them have to make a good throw, or he does have some explosiveness from the line to rush the passer. So if that, in that situation, if you have Cooper, Eric Wilson, and Quay on there, and you're letting Cooper and Eric Wilson do the coverage because they're also very fast, then maybe Quay can start to get home more on some rushes. I don't know. I'm not paid to be a DC. They obviously know a lot more than me, but what I'm seeing is I don't think he's cut out for 100% of the snaps, because there's too many times he is doing the wrong thing. But I think that's because maybe there's too much on his plate right now.
So
until he fully knows the defense.
I'm okay with giving the dot to McKinney. That I'd be on board with. I don't know about 30% of his snaps gone.
Yeah, 20, 30.
I would say if he goes from 100% down to maybe 85%.
Yeah, just to see how it goes. I think they could play with it a little bit and see what they can get in there. You know what I mean? So, because the thing that Quay seems to be really struggling with right now is hitting the hole.
Yeah.
What does Isaiah McDuffie do? It's like he sees the hole and he just fucking puts his head right into it. Excuse my language. I don't normally swear on here, but
I did it twice already.
He is a lot better at that. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just like I think there's a lot on Quay's play right now, and if we just took a little bit away from him, it might help him build that confidence up and be in a better position to succeed.
I don't hate
just
that.
give him a breather a little bit,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
Justin said he's been potentially indecisive lately, and I think I'm going to read 2 of Steve's comments because he brings up interesting points. Steve said, didn't we hear about Blake Martinez being asked to be a cleanup guy at the end? Is it possible Quay is being asked to do the same? That is very possible. And then the other thing that Steve said was losing Jair for a stretch of the year is like losing a staff ace. The trickle effect is real.
Yeah, when our cornerbacks are in rough position, I agree there. Like,
I don't feel it makes it so you have to help them a little bit more too, which
might be why we played too high a lot.
That's very fair.
Yeah.
All right, Jake, how did the Packers do on 3rd and 4th down?
Woof. We allowed the Bears, who coming into this game, I wrote it down. The Bears offense on 3rd down, where was it? Bears offense was at 28.69%, 31st in the NFL, and over the last 3 games going into this one, we're at 15%. We allowed them to go 9 for 16.
Yeesh.
I thought it was worse, to be honest with you.
And 3, that is horrible. And 3 for 3 on 4th down. 3 of the 9 conversions were scrambles by CJ Williams, Jesus. My bad. We also gave up a touchdown. One of the 3 4th downs that we picked up was on a scramble. And the 1 4th down, the scramble 4th down, I was just like, man, he had so many scrambles before that. I was just like, oh my goodness. The one fourth down that I really don't understand how it happened, and I'm still to this point just absolutely pissed off about it. We were in clear man-to-man. How the hell was Evan Williams 5 yards away from the running back on a 2-yard pass? I don't understand why he was that far away. It was clearly man-to-man. Where were you? I wanted to take my TV and break it over my knee at that point when I saw that play. That made me so mad. But obviously, room for improvement. 49ers have been up and down this year on third down, so they got a test. I mean, McCaffrey is no joke. Juwan Jennings has been a stud for them this year, so it'll be a big test this week.
Yeah. So, again, I kind of teased this already, mentioning Keyshawn Nixon with the secondary. Again, it's not as bad as people make it out to be just because of a couple plays. Again, I'm not saying that Keyshawn Nixon is a stud and he deserves a raise or anything like that. But looking at just the numbers, Keyshawn Nixon only allowed a 70.8 passer rating on 6 targets, only 3 of them for completions, and only allowed 39 yards. Obviously, he didn't grade well because of allowing the 4th down conversion on the last drive. But again, only allowing 50% completion and a 70.8 passer rating, like, I'll take those numbers. Now, looking at the rest of the secondary, Xavier McKinney did not have his best game, probably his worst game, in my opinion. Yeah. Allowed 3 for 3 for 32 yards and also had the missed tackle on the Swift touchdown. Of those 10 missed tackles that Bryant brought up, 5 of them did come from the secondary, which is unfortunate. And that's one of those things where if Jair's in the game, that's probably a lower number.
Yeah.
The only 10 snaps is rough. It is what it is. If you have a chance to get your best player on the field and he's cleared to do so, put him out there. Because if he's good to go, the most, your best player, you want him on the field if he's clear to play.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Stokes, only 4 snaps. So it seems Eric Stokes is being completely passed on the depth chart unless he's got another injury, which I don't know. That's purely speculation, just guessing. But it seems that he's been passed up by Valentine and Nixon on the depth chart as far as cornerback is concerned.
I'm happy to see Valentine on the field more.
Yeah.
I feel like he's just more scrappy.
Yeah, definitely scrappy. Remember him letting Michael Pittman Jr. know in the corner of the end zone when he broke up a pass on him. Valentine was targeted 4 times. He allowed 3 receptions for 30 yards. Nothing crazy. But, you just look at Caleb Williams' stats and there is nothing crazy in the passing game. Obviously, the last 2 passes that he threw were, is what it is. Justin said Williams should have never gotten off that many passes. Our pass rushers have to do better. If they do their job, the secondary looks much better. Justin, that's a game plan thing. That is absolutely a game plan thing. We talked about this a little bit in the beginning. The average time for him to throw, he had 2.7 seconds. The average time that he took to throw was much shorter. I think it was under 2 seconds.
2.2 or something like that at one point.
Rex Ryan talked about this on the pregame show on ESPN on Sunday when they were talking about this game. When Caleb Williams gets rid of the ball under 3 seconds, I think it was top 5 in the NFL in QBR. When he holds onto the ball for longer than 3 seconds, he's the worst quarterback QBR rating in the league. That's how big of a difference it is.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, it's just I don't want to say it, but it reminds me so much of Joe Barry's like, we're playing so far off. Why are we letting this guy complete these easy passes? So, and that was the part that killed me. But because kind of like, I didn't hear that stat from Rex Ryan, but that's a good point. It's like we just let him, sling it. And Justin, I don't know. I don't care who your pass rushers are. If he's throwing the ball in 2 seconds, you're not getting home. You might get a pressure in his face, but you're not getting home.
Time to throw.
It'll
tell me the time to throw, but it won't tell me the amount of time.
You can have prime J.J. Watt, Aaron Donald, and Reggie White up there on your D-line. If he's getting rid of the ball in 2 to 2.5 seconds, they don't have much time.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted them up in his face a little more, or the wide receiver's faces, because we know right now in Caleb Williams' career, or where he's at right now, is like if his first and definitely his second look isn't there, he starts to panic a little bit, and and he's having to think a lot and everything. And then that's when you see that time going over 3 seconds, and you see him struggling, getting sacked, and everything else. So I think that can be a little bit more on Hafley than it was on D-line, that we weren't putting enough, press man or whatever, just to really make them beat us.
Mess with the timing a little bit.
If I'm looking at this on PFF, the time to throw says 2.77, and then on Next Gen Stats it says 2.42. So I'm guessing he had about 2.7 seconds to throw, and he made them in about 2.4.
Yeah, I know at one point in the broadcast they said that his average time of release and this was like into the third quarter, was 2.2 seconds.
Yeah, it was super short. There was a brief period where it was under 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he was lining up and firing it because there's a lot of bubble screens, a lot of easy crap that we were letting them complete, which it drove me. I mean, to me, when I told you guys this is embarrassing, that's what I was talking about. It's like, why are we doing this? Why are we playing this way? And I get it. It's because the offensive coordinator helped them a lot, but we kind of let their offensive coordinator help them by staying back.
I'm going to still, like I said, I'm going to get to it when we get to the coaching part of it. I'll throw it out now because we're on the defensive side of the ball. My issue with it was not that it happened, because again, the credit goes to the Bears offensive coordinator for doing this. My thing with Hafley is, why didn't you adjust to it more strongly in the second half?
Yeah,
I could have understood if they were working us in the first half on it, because that's smart game planning. But you have to adjust to it in the second half, and that's where I didn't feel like Hafley was at his best.
I agree. That's exactly what I thought on Sunday too. I was like, dude, why did we not change anything in the second?
Once you identify in the first half that, they're trying to get the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands as quickly as possible, then that's like, all right, here we go. We're gonna start putting, we're gonna put everybody 2 yards off the line of scrimmage, and we're gonna see if and that's where, again, Jake, you brought up the 2 safeties on the field, but I mean, you have to try it at some point at least.
No, I agree, but it's I don't know. There's a lot of things that changed on the Jair, the new offensive coordinator. I mean, there's a lot of things that kind of went against us in this game. And Steve said it before. He expects the Bears to kind of get crushed by a defense. Yeah, they'll have tape on them now. They can't just run all those bubble screens. The next team will see how they ran their plays and where they ran them and what positions on the field they like to do certain things. They'll have the tape from last year against the Panthers too, where the Packers, they could have went over that Panthers tape. The offensive coordinator was there last year in Carolina. They could have went over that a little bit, but it's a whole different skill group in Chicago. They got real guys over there, not like Carolina last year.
Yeah.
And for me, like, just pushing them or whatever, there was a couple times that like Caleb Williams threw the ball downfield. There's one I recall, it was like an out route. He wasn't in the same stratosphere as his wide receiver when he threw that ball. So what we've seen Caleb Williams do a lot this year on highlights and stuff is just miss deep, overthrow people, throw wide and everything. So that's where I just wanted to see. Once you make a good point, I can see it in the first half. The fact that they didn't adjust in the second half kind of killed me a little bit. Yeah. I'm just especially like, what are we doing, man?
With us being the first ones to face it.
Yeah.
So, again, it is what it is. The other thing I think we have to remember, too, is not only obviously Jair being injured, Evan Williams came into this game banged up as well.
Yeah,
that's true.
Justin asked it seemed like we played a lot of zone to you guys.
Played more than I would have liked. Or if we play, I don't care if we play zone or man. I just want to, if we're going to play zone, play tight zone. Get up on the line and play and then come back with them. But yeah.
I don't know if PFF will tell me that or not.
Scott, I have some opinions on that when we get to the coaching section.
Come on, PFF. It does not tell me zone, unfortunately. That is a bummer.
Yeah, Steve. 7-3 feels a hell of a lot better than 6-4. A win's a win.
Yeah. The other part of this is they were 4-6 through 10 games last year.
Yeah, we were.
Scott said, "Do you think we are as good as last year?" I don't think that the first 10 games are as good as the last 7 games of last year, but this year's first 10 games are leaps and bounds better than the first 10 games last year. And you have to remember 2 of these games were played with a backup quarterback.
What were we at this point last year? 3-6?
4-6.
4-6. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, we're better than last year. And the fact that we're winning a game where they probably played their A game, we probably played a C game at best.
Yeah.
And we won the game.
Yep.
I
Again,
think the
LaFleur
Packers
said
are
it.
100% better than they were last year. The run game is more reliable.
That's very
First
that's
thing.
facts.
Secondly, the defense forces turnovers when they have to. And Jordan Love has all the confidence in the world where he had to kind of gain that going throughout the year last year. I think the Packers are worlds ahead where they were last year at this point.
The running game being more trustworthy is absolute facts. I saw a stat too. It was Josh Jacobs being, you know what? I'm gonna wait. Not gonna spoil it.
Let's move on to the next
Yeah,
one.
let's keep it in stride. Keep it
Yep.
on topic. Jake, red zone defense.
Red zone defense. So held them to 1 for 2. So really, when you look at the grand scheme of things, letting them go 9 for 16 on third down, they only had 2 attempts in the red zone. Kind of weird, to be honest with you. I expected it to be a higher number, but they just really had ball control offense on Sunday and kept the Packers off the field. But the first one, Williams had a 12-yard run to get Chicago into Green Bay red zone territory. Then he hit Moore for a little screen. Swift went for 2. Johnson went for 1, and then Johnson ran into touchdown on 3rd and goal, which honestly, I thought they put up a good fight once they got to the 5-yard line. They made them earn it once they got to the 5-yard line. So I wasn't too upset about that. It just kind of sucked that they scored it right going into halftime, and it was like, oh, man, they start with the ball too. Like,
Yeah.
ooh. So then they get the yeah, I wrote that down. I wrote down again, I don't understand why Williams was so far off on a 4th and 2. Makes no sense. It was man coverage. But it continued this drive, got the Bears into the red zone. Then Johnson ran again. Then Johnson ran for no gain. He got 6 yards on the first run. Then it was an incomplete pass by Williams, and they settled for the field goal. It was their 3rd straight scoring drive. And at this point, this was the point where Matt LaFleur was ripping into some people on the sidelines. He was trying to see who had a goddamn heartbeat on the defense. And I love seeing that from LaFleur. It was like, I love seeing him so fired up lately this year, especially because he is owning the coaching position. He kind of fell into it a little bit the first couple of years. He was comfortable. He had Rodgers running the ship, Devontae over there. It was pretty easy for him, right? He had the best quarterback wide receiver combo. Now this year, because of last year, he really had to become a good coach. He's owning that. Right? He really is owning that coaching position. So kudos to him for ripping into people and kind of waking some people up, because I think their heads were a little bit far up their ass. I'm not sorry for cussing, because that's what it looked like to me on Sunday. So, I mean, 1 for 2 you can't really complain about, but it's going to need to be better this week, because the 49ers, I don't care who is off the field. Thank God most of their team is on IR, because they would come in the way the defense played this last week, soft. They would come and smack us in the mouth.
Hard.
So I'm gonna jump coaching in front of special teams for this, just because we're on the subject of LaFleur.
That's fine.
And with some of the questions. First, Jason asked, LVN is crickets. What gives? I have some thoughts on LVN. Obviously, not a great game for him, but if I'm gonna be honest with you, I think he's this close. He's this close to breaking out. And when we get into the preview, spoiler alert, I'm going to have him in an important segment.
I'm interested to see this, because I disagree. I have not seen much from him that I'm excited about, so I hope you can sway me.
I'm not excited yet, but it's small things. It's just small things. Scott said, hopefully we can beat the Niners, Lions, and Vikings. That would be
I would
awesome,
love that.
as well as
Worry about the Niners
Nothing
first.
more.
Worry about the Niners first.
So Jason's getting into another one of the things that I'll cover when we get into the passing game distribution. But so Justin, you're getting back to the kneeling conversation. Great. Scott said, what do you think of LaFleur going forward in the 4th instead of taking the points? This is something where I had kind of a strong opinion on it. Now, normally I agree with most of what Matt LaFleur does, and I even usually agree with what the analytics say. Like, I'm usually on board with analytics. But this game specifically was different for one big reason, and it was time of possession.
Yep.
This game got shortened so much. The Packers only had 3 possessions in the first half, and they didn't start their second possession of offense in the second half until the fourth quarter was starting. This game got shortened so much because the Bears were just chewing clock.
It's 6 possessions, and if you take it away the kneel.
Yeah, which I did.
Yeah.
I don't count that as a possession because they weren't trying to score on it. So essentially, like you said, 6 possessions, and you look at the play discrepancy, it's way out of whack. The amount of plays that the Bears ran versus the amount of plays the Packers ran, even though the Packers obviously scored more points. But in a situation where the game gets shortened that much, that's when you need to take the points over the analytics. Because the analytics will tell you that if there's 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter and you're down by 5, you should go for it. That's fine. But in a game where possessions are 8 minutes apart, that's where you need to take the points. That's where I disagreed with the analytics and with LaFleur's decision.
Yeah.
So that way, the next possession, if you get a stop, a field goal can still give you the lead.
And that's the point that really bugged me right there was if you kick that field goal, you're down 2 points. I know butterfly effect, you don't know everything that happens. However, if it plays out the way it did, when Christian Watson makes that catch, guess what we're doing? We're running that ball. We're running that ball. We're running that ball. If we run that ball and on third down we run for a first down, Chicago only had 1 timeout. At that point, we're kneeling out. We're kicking a field goal to win the game. We never give them an option to do what they did for me. So,
or if you score a touchdown on your next drive, then you're up by, and they'd be up.
So I disagreed with that decision, and I kind of got fired up in our chat. The one that really bugged me was on the last possession of the game after they had that 15-yard play on third down. You could see our defense scrambling. We had a timeout chilling there. We were never going to get to use that on offense. I feel like at that point, you call a timeout or at least let them see what formation they're going to run. You call that timeout and you get your defense set for that fourth down play. Because you don't. What's the point of ending the damn game with the timeout when you could have used it in the biggest point of the game up to that point was that fourth down. We win the game right there. So for me, I wish you would have called that.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yeah.
Just using that timeout because they lost another one on the challenge that Matt LaFleur had. Jason said the challenge LaFleur did on the catch, the Baird wide receiver.
Yeah, it's like an emotional one. I don't know why he did it. But
no, I actually agree with that. Because I just had the conversation of the game being shortened, and you look at Love's interception and the turnover on downs to go for it, you're looking at points taken off the board there. If you have a chance to put points on the board, put the points on the board.
Yeah.
So I was okay with the challenge. And the other part of that is then if you do score there, you don't take any more time, and that does potentially give you time to score if the Bears were to score quickly.
Yeah.
So that's one of those butterfly effect things. But then after they lost that timeout and they were essentially going to need a stop to win, then I do agree with you that they should have used that timeout before fourth down.
Yeah, and then the only other thing I think Matt LaFleur said as much. I hated the 2-point conversion call because for me, if you hand that ball off there, I know Jacob's been running, but he's also been stuffed a few times. If you hand the ball off there, you have one option to score there, and that's him taking it into the end zone. If you run a bootleg or something, let me finish, then I'll let you tear me down, Jake. If you run a bootleg or anything there, you have several options. You have anyone that might win on their route. You have Jordan Love, who looked way healthier in this game, that can try to run and make some plays. You have better chance of maybe them getting a stupid. I did not like the play call. I get it. You're trying to run tough nose, but it was either feast or famine for Jacobs. I know he had the big touchdown run earlier in the game, but there was definitely times he got stuff for 1-yard loss or no gain as well. So for me, I hated that call because I feel like you're really putting it down to one option, whereas you have a mobile quarterback, you can get him out of the pocket, and then you turn that one option into 4 or 5 options.
Yep. Not to mention, like this game and just in general, I feel this way that Montez Sweat is their best defender. And there's the case to be made for Jalen Johnson, but Christian Watson was cooking him the entire game.
Yeah, on the touchdown pass to Jaden Reed, Christian Watson was
a chance to win a jump ball.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which, this is, we're talking about coaching right now. Jason, I'm going to come back to this comment on Packers featuring certain wide receivers. I'm going to come back to that. But Steve brought up the 20 points in the 6 possessions. That's not bad, especially when you consider the team floundered twice in the red zone with the turnover on downs and the interception. That is absolutely 100%. And I'm going to talk about that when we get to the red zone offense. Jason said the Packers defense only gave up 17 against Detroit. They've been putting up a clinic with 40+ a game on teams. We clean this up, it's lights out. And that's the thing. Steve kind of alluded to it before too. Like being 7-3 with this much to clean up is, if you just change the perspective on it, that's a really good thing, because that tells you that the ceiling is not 7-3. The ceiling is finishing 14-3 if they play all their cards right in the next 7 games. That's wrong. The ceiling.
What's crazy, that might not win the division. Can you imagine?
That would be some shit.
Right? That would be some shit. I agree. So first, let me go to the 2-point conversion. I do agree with you. I would have liked a bootleg. I will also say that if Rasheed Walker doesn't get planted on his ass, we got Josh Jacobs one-on-one with a corner. I like my odds. Just saying.
Fair, yeah. Yep.
I like my odds. Yeah. But him one-on-one with a corner, pretty good chance we're going to be okay. Also, the thing on coaching. So I think the challenge, I think LaFleur was going to take a timeout there anyways. He was going to try to collect the defense because he was already pacing on the sideline when the defense was on the field, because Chicago was just controlling the ball the entire game. He wanted Jordan Love out there in the offense the whole time, right? So I think him calling a challenge, just an extended timeout, really. That's really all I thought that was.
That's fair.
He probably didn't think that he was going to win anyways, but he gets a couple extra seconds to talk to the defense and get everything coordinated. Let Hafley have a couple extra seconds with Quay Walker to get a message across, right?
Yeah, and I like that. I like when coaches actually use a challenge for a lot of times, because a lot of times you don't even get to a third challenge in a damn game anyway. So I like it when it's like, okay, it was a little questionable. I like when they throw it if they're going to call timeout anyway. I do agree with that. I think there was a game I was watching. I was like, why the hell didn't they challenge that if they're going to call timeout anyway? But I can't remember the game or the situation. But I agree with you there.
That's a really good point to bring up.
What the hell happens to this guy when we get in the red zone? He calls these crazy plays 20-20, where it's just like, whoa, shit. Oh, we're already in the red zone, 2 plays? That's crazy. Does he bump his head every time we get in the red zone? What was this sequence on that interception, dude? What was that? That was garbage. It's just like last year when Jones would carry us all the way down to the 15, and then it's 2nd and 1. He's like, play action. Get the first down, clown show. Jesus Christ, man. Josh Jacobs is carrying us right now.
Yeah.
And the Bears defense is good. And they're number 1 in the NFL in red zone defense. So give credit to where it's due. I want to puke, so I just gave the Bears credit. But I will say, give the ball to Josh Jacobs and let's see what happens. Get the first down on that play. You don't, you run an RPO. Now you go 5 yards back. And then after a negative play, you stack it with an end around, which hasn't worked for 7 weeks.
How long have I said like 2 or 3 weeks ago, they're not working anymore. Stop calling them.
Especially not in the red zone. I understand if you're in like a short yardage situation, like if you're in like a 2nd and 2 at the 50,
right.
Sure. Because then you're in potentially 4-down territory if it doesn't work, or you're potentially scoring a touchdown. But don't do it in the red zone.
What I'd much rather see in that situation is like one of those pop passes.
Yeah,
I would much rather see that in that situation than that end around shit.
Here's my point on that. We don't like Jaden Reed on the punt returns, right? Because he's getting all those extra hits. What the hell are we doing with the end arounds that aren't working? He's getting his ass beat. Stop doing that.
I mean, he's getting like tackled by corners as opposed to getting hit by gunners and stuff. But
Jesus, I mean, I get it, but like, dude, we have to stop with these unnecessary hits on Jaden Reed. He's a little guy. They're gonna start stacking up at the end of the year. You know, he can't take all this abuse. So why was that? And then all of a sudden, then you put Jordan Love in a situation where now it's 3rd and long when you're at 2nd and 1. And you're like, okay, Jordan, bail me out. And you know what? He tried to throw a fireball. He had a little bit of happy feet, and it sailed on him. That's all that happened. It wasn't like it was the worst decision in the world. He was wide open.
He was open, yeah.
And that's Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft is running over the first person trying to tackle him. It's probably a first down there if he makes that pass.
Oh, yeah.
If not scoring.
Yeah, he might score on that, honestly.
He might score on that play.
I think that interception should go on the floors. Interception total, not on Jordan Love, because he did not help his quarterback out at all in that sequence. So that's just my opinion on that.
But Jordan still needs to make that throw.
He does. He just said it. Like, he was open.
Yeah, he was.
He's wide open. That's a good play call, in my opinion. That is wide open.
Yeah.
Because and to the right player too, because we've seen Tucker Kraft. How often does he go down on the first contact? I can't tell you.
He's the yak monster.
So, but I would much rather have that interception from Jordan where he just missed the wide open one. I know that sounds crazy. You want to hit your wide open one than the throwing into double, triple coverage or
Yeah,
right.
and crap. I mean,
it's
those
the right read, but just a bad throw that we know
it was
he's
a
going to
bad
make.
throw. He was also
9 times out of
unlucky
10.
that the defender was just standing right there ready to catch the ball.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Agreed.
All right, Bryant, how did you feel about special teams?
just pretty normal game. I'm just kidding.
anything interesting?
I've
just
been
a
really
bit
rough
maybe?
on Bisaccia, so I'll give him his credit this game. For that quote to come out after where Matt LaFleur said that Bisaccia said if we come out of this game without blocking a kick, I won't understand, or whatever he said, something along those lines. So they identified something and they took advantage of it at the biggest moment in the game. There was in my opinion, there's 3 big special team plays that happened that whole game, and Green Bay won them by a mile. So the one time Green Bay punted, what did we do? We kicked it down to the 5-yard line. On the game, the drive that put us in the lead, Jaden Reed had a 16-yard or 17-yard punt return.
Yeah, good call.
If he doesn't make that punt return, we're down at the 5.
Good
he
call.
takes us all the way up to the 2022, and now we're cooking with gas.
Good call.
And then to end the game, they block a kick. So those 3 special team plays, which were pretty much the main special team plays, and I will say the first field goal that Pinheiro or whatever his name is, Santos kicked. Pinheiro was our other shitty one. The one that Santos kicked. I was like, man, that was a low line driving kick. Like, this guy might struggle to make a longer kick if we can hold him, outside of that, whatever. I didn't think, oh yeah, we're gonna block one. Great job by Carl Brooks. That dude, I love that. He seems to make when he gets enough snaps, he'll make at least 1 or 2 plays a game. It's something about him. But for the 3 main special teams plays of that game, Green Bay won them by a mile, and it feels really nice to say that special teams won us a game versus lost us a game. I get it that we had 2 back-to-back game-winning field goals, but that was our offense setting us up to 40 and in for a field goal.
Yeah.
Once we had an actual kicker, those should be very easy to make. I'll start to give kickers credit 40 plus for game winners because that's a high stress situation, as we just seen with Chicago. If he puts more air under that ball, he probably makes it. I maybe that's his kicking style, but either way, Bisaccia did a really good job identifying whatever they identified. Eberflus can go cry to the league all he wants. They were lined up, not over the center. I don't know. Oh, you can't touch the center at all. That is literally impossible. The guy is throwing himself forward towards the defenders. Oh, if he reaches out and touches them, that should be a penalty. That doesn't make any sense. Then they should just take away the rush on the defense altogether. But anyway, that's all I have to say is good job on that. That they won us a game.
Yes, Steve, he did say that. Jason, like I said, I'm going to come back to the wide receiver comments when we get to that on the offensive side of the ball. Let's go to tight ends.
Yeah, so really nothing to report other than the 1 target, the interception, 0 receptions, 0 yards. I thought they were run blocking pretty good. That's the one positive I can say about them. But you kind of come to expect that from our tight end room, from Sims and Kraft. I haven't heard anything on Musgrave. I know he's on IR. They haven't activated his window yet, but would be nice for him to come in, another big athletic dude that they can get the ball to. But other than that, the tight ends were pretty much a no-show in this one.
Yeah, Justin said the Bears cry. That's what they do.
Yeah, I was really surprised about the Kraft's non-involvement.
So I get the surprise that he wasn't involved, but if you think about it, Jordan Love only threw 17 passes.
Yeah.
If he threw double that, Tucker Kraft is obviously going to be more involved. But Packers only threw the ball 17 times because Josh Jacobs was just on their ass.
Very efficient.
Yeah. All right. And if I see one more person say to bench Jordan Love, I'm going to start ripping my hair out.
Yep.
He made literally 1 bad throw and had a drop. So, he was 13 for 17 with an interception and a drop.
Yeah.
If he just obviously makes a throw that he's supposed to make, and Romeo Doubs catches the ball on 3rd down,
17.
Jordan Love could have been 15 for 17 with potentially 2 touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. Shut the fuck up about Malik Willis. He's not playing over a healthy Jordan Love.
Yeah, Love looked good, bro. He looked real good, in my opinion.
And he was putting the body out there.
Yeah,
and yes, Justin, I understand they gave up the 3rd most yards to tight ends, and we only had 1 target. That was a little bit inflated by the Patriots last week because they were chewing them up with the tight ends, but Bears could just as easily say, hey, we got chewed up by the tight ends last week. We should probably key on Tucker Kraft a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't have the numbers of the amount of times that guys could have been double covered or anything like that. But I can tell you that Tucker Kraft was only in on 20 passing plays.
Yep. And 17 of those ended up actually getting thrown.
Yes. And the offense only ran 43 plays.
Yeah.
46 plays, sorry. They only ran 46 plays. So it's just, again, that's part of the condensed game that the Packers are playing. Yes, Scott Love looks way better movement-wise. It looks like the bye came, they say that, it's a kind of a generic thing, but the bye did come in a good week for them. So, Bryant, wide receivers.
Yeah, Watson had a huge game.
Hell yeah, he did.
He could have had a touchdown. If you go back to that play, that was a free play. He also burnt his cornerback in the running on out in the end zone. He could easily gotten that ball and had an even bigger game than he did. But the 4 for 150, that diving catch, you can cry and say that wasn't a catch. Look, eventually the NFL has to accept that the side of the ball might touch the ground when you're trying to catch it because no one's hand is bigger than the damn ball. So if you're diving to the ground, it might touch, you know what I mean? There was not obvious evidence that was not a catch. So great job by him on the diving one. Amazing. He got ripped for losing, tracking that ball against Detroit or whatever. That other catch that he made, huge concentration between two defenders. That was one of the throws that Jordan Love made. I was just thinking, what the hell are you doing, dude? But trusted
perfect spot.
and he, what a great catch. So 4 for 150, that was huge for him to get up and run that ball after he dove and caught that. I thought if he stayed up the sidelines, he's probably scoring. But maybe he was winded or it's hard to tell on the TV copy. He might have known the guy had the angle. Either way, great effort there. Good job by Reed on the touchdown play, kind of back shoulder, just getting to a spot and being ready for the ball. So good job for him getting that touchdown. And then Wicks and Dobbs weren't really all involved. Dobbs had the one catch. Wicks didn't really have a catch. And then Dobbs obviously had the one drop. But yeah, so I've been calling for Watson to get more involved, and he got involved in a big way. And I hope that this remains more consistent because he is playing really well this year when he's getting targeted. He's making contested catches. He's making big catches. He's getting drilled and making the catch. He's done that a couple times in the end zone. Yeah. I just feel like he's really coming into his stride, and I really hope, he's been healthy for the most part, knock on wood, stay healthy. And I think he could be very big for us down the stretch here.
Yeah. And like I said, give him a shot on a jump ball on that 2-point conversion, especially the way that he was going, like, feed the hot hand. Yeah. And this is going to tie right into it. Jason brought up Watson is a special receiver. He takes defenders with him in the top of any package. Use him better, others will benefit. I don't think it's necessarily like that they're not using him better. I think it's just targeting him more.
Yeah.
And we have this problem of we have so many guys we want to get the ball to, which is obviously a good problem to have. Steve said the best thing about Watson this year beyond his health is his approach. Never seems unhappy.
Green Bay doesn't get to play 15 out of 17 games in a dome or whatever Detroit plays this year. Yeah. Like that, if Watson and Love are in a dome and constantly in just perfect conditions and everything, they might put up some serious big numbers. So you got to take that into account a little bit too. They're playing in, some rainy games, weather, windy type of environments.
Scott said Reed, Watson, and Dobbs are gelling. That's absolutely a thing. You look at early in the year, Reed was the guy. We've had some Watson games. We've had some crazy Dobbs games. Justin said Wicks was non-existent. That's unfortunately a bit of a product of his own doing.
Yeah, hey, Wicks had a big game too against the Texans earlier this year. He had a big time touchdown in that game. So I think every wide receiver has been the focal point in at least one game this year.
And Wicks, we saw him struggle with drops. So that's going to get you less opportunity. And I'll throw this out there. I think Tucker Kraft is a more important part of the offense than Dontavian Wicks. So, I mean, you're still looking at Romeo Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, and Tucker Kraft ahead of Dontavian Wicks. So I'm not, super going to be like, oh, my God, Wicks didn't do anything. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying, Justin. It's just one target for him. And again, in a game where the possessions got super shortened, Packers only ran 46 plays. Jordan Love only threw the ball 17 times. So the opportunities for everybody shrink.
Yep.
Justin said Watson said he was happy with his performance, but he's more happy doing what benefits the team. If he's taking a back seat to others, so be it. Love to hear that. And I keep pointing this out when I have the opportunity. Romeo Doubs, Bryant just mentioned, he was targeted twice, had 1 catch, 1 drop. Josh Jacobs scored the touchdown. The first guy celebrating with him is Romeo Doubs. A couple weeks ago when Jordan Love had that laser touchdown to Tucker Kraft, and he goes and he sits down in the back of the end zone, first guy with him, Romeo Doubs.
That makes me believe that the whole story that it was just because of how much targets he was getting stuff is not completely accurate. I think he probably had a little more going on in his life, and that's just what maybe came out of it or people latched onto. But I think he's been fine. So.
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't seem that he's unhappy with anything that's going on. So, obviously, you already mentioned the 4 for 450, 4 for 4 for 150, 2 for 2 on contested catches. So, again, throw him a jump ball once in a while. I'm down. He's coming down with him.
I agree.
Josh Jacobs involved in the passing game as well, which is another thing we didn't really bring up. But again, with Chicago, one thing that they've always been able to hang their hat on, like the Packers having a good quarterback, is the Bears. They're usually a pretty good defense.
That's
they
something
have to be because they always suck on offense because they can't find a quarterback.
I mean, that's true. With the Bears having a good defense, it does also take away some of the opportunity. But it was good to see Josh Jacobs also involved in this offense, passing. So Josh Jacobs had 5 targets. So you're looking at Watson and Jacobs. That's 9 out of Jordan Love's 17 passes.
Yeah.
So again, Kraft, Reed, Doubs, and Wicks, the opportunities get real thin there when there's only 8 other passes being thrown. So Josh Jacobs, 4 catches on 5 targets, and then Reed, Brooks, and Doubs each had 2. Chris Brooks has supplanted Emmanuel Wilson as RB2. We'll see what happens when Lloyd gets back. But Kraft and Wicks each had 1 catch, or 1 target, Jordan Love, 4 for 4 behind the line of scrimmage, 3 for 6 from 0 to 9. That's where the drop was and the interception. And then he was 4 for 4 on 10 to 19-yard throws, which is the intermediate deep balls. So it's really good to see him completing a high percentage of those. And he was 2 for 2 on 20+. So passing game distribution, I'm still very happy with, even in a game where there's only 17 passes thrown. So, all right, Bryant, to the O-line.
Yeah, I thought they had an okay game. And people were like, what do you mean okay? They only had 1 sack. That 1 sack was Jordan Love ran out of bounds. So it really wasn't a sack. It definitely wasn't on the O-line. But the O-line, as we've talked about, they only threw the ball 20 times. However, they did give up 7 pressures on those amongst those 20 pass snaps. I guess you could say, well, that's 5 times, 7 pressures among 100 opportunities or however you want to do the math. But there was 7 total pressures allowed. So they did fine. Whenever you keep your quarterback clean, other than him running out of bounds for a negative half yard and they're counting that as a sack, you can't really ask for too much more. But also they were, they're kind of like they've been all year. They're a little up and down in the running game, as Jake alluded to on the 2-point conversion. Rasheed Walker gets destroyed. However, on the touchdown earlier, it was like a valley opened up for freaking Josh Jacobs. Yeah. He ran right up the middle of the field for a 7-yard touchdown against that daunted red zone defense. He was busting off some, pretty nice runs. Like, look, for Jacobs, it's like we don't see as twitchy of him jumping way outside, but his cuts and stuff it just seems they're more compact and more concise. But he's just always getting 4 or 5 yards. He will get stopped at the line of scrimmage once in a while, but it's like he piles up a lot of heavy running running yards, and
that dude's ankle's got to be just solid.
So and then but the O-line, I thought they did a pretty good job keeping him clean. So kudos to them. Yeah, and that's been all year. They've been probably our most consistent group all year.
Just carry it over into the running game. Keep talking about Josh Jacobs.
So the running game, really good job. Jacobs, 18 carries for 76 yards. He's 3rd in the league in rushing now. He's now all over 1,000 all-purpose yards. Did that in 10 games. There was a list of Packers that did it. They're all really good Packers, pretty much. It was like Ahman Green, and I think Dorsey Evans was on there, and a couple other really, really good players was on that list. So Josh Jacobs joined them on that list in his first year as a Green Bay Packer. Emmanuel Wilson had those couple nice carries at the start. And Chris Brooks, man, his pass blocking is elite. He is so good at it. On top of that play he made where he makes that catch and then that just tight, quick little jump cut to get that first down was sick. And he stiff arms a guy into oblivion.
That was awesome.
He drags him for 5 or 6 yards behind him.
Love
Come
that.
on, no, that was awesome.
That was awesome.
Josh Jacobs showed me some hands I did not know he had. That catch along the sideline where he jumped up and then he cut up field.
Plucked
Like,
it.
holy crap, what a beautiful play. So, Jacobs not only had 76 yards rushing, 58 yards receiving. So really just a really strong performance from that whole room.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
with Emmanuel Wilson getting supplanted, it's because of Chris Brooks' ability to pass block right now.
Yep.
He's the best on the team doing it.
Yep, absolutely. Steve said Goody cooking with the Brooks acquisition. Absolutely. Jacobs got screwed earlier in the season with O-line penalties. That's true. That's fair.
Oh, good. I'm glad you brought that up. Really, really good job by the offense line for penalties as a whole this game. We didn't see those. People are bitching about our performance, but look at what we did. We cleaned up a lot of those penalties were gone. The penalties we called for, that call against Xavier McKinney was horse crap. That was a horrible call.
Yeah.
The LVN one, you could have said went against. A lot of times the tie goes to the defense. That should have probably been a penalty on the offensive line. So really good job with the cleaning up the pre-snap penalties and all that. So
what about the missed false start when freaking DeAndre Swift?
DeAndre Swift, yeah.
No.
I was like, they're just watching him do that?
Nope, the Packers are the only ones that got good calls, and they won.
Exactly. Yep. Packers. Yep. The refs wanted the Packers to win this game. Yeah. Jason said they loves Jones. Jacobs is that dude. If you look at the list, and I don't have the exact stat in front of me because I don't remember who tweeted it, but there are 15 players that have had 100 or 1,000 scrimmage yards in their first 10 games of the season. Josh Jacobs has done it in his first year with the Packers. Amon Green's on there like fucking 4 times because he's the GOAT, apparently.
Yeah.
But
he had some really good years.
There's a name that's not on there.
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones is not on that list. So Josh Jacobs has not only been, a lateral move from Aaron Jones, he's been better and more available.
Yeah. He's been better all around. I think people's love affair with Aaron Jones is how good of a person he is off the football field. I love that part of him too. And I'm not here to talk shit about Aaron Jones. I love Aaron Jones. We'll always love Aaron Jones. But it was the right move by Goop. It was absolutely the right move.
Yep. And the numbers.
You take this $1 million pay cut, we're going to go get a guy.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, Aaron Jones could have been on this team with them. He didn't want to take the pay cut. So
that would have been wild.
That would have been wild.
Literally been unfair, dude. That would have been unfair.
It would have been nice.
Oh.
Yeah, as Steve said, better to cut ties a year too soon than a year too late. Honestly, I really think it was the right time because the year too early would have been 2023, in my opinion.
Somebody should probably say what Steve just said to Aaron Rodgers. Buddy, it might be time to cut ties with football instead of staying a year too late because good God, does he look rough and he should have retired after the Achilles injury.
Yeah.
He's got to complete the cycle of coming to Green Bay. Coming to Minnesota.
Yeah, no. I did see that Cody, that the Jets want to potentially move on from him now that they fired their GM.
Let's be honest.
Adams is gone anyways.
Minnesota makes sense for him.
The Jets are going to be in salary cap hell for the next couple of years anyways.
Yep. Scott and Jones has dealt with some injuries this year. Not that Josh Jacobs hasn't, but Josh Jacobs hasn't missed any time.
Yep.
All right. So, Jake, how did the Packers do on 3rd and 4th down?
Oh, well, they only had 5 opportunities on 3rd down. I'm freaking going through these freaking 3rd downs, and I'm like, dude, when the hell did we have 3rd down? Where's all the 3rd down attempts? Chicago had all of them, apparently. But the 1 3rd down that we did convert went to Christian Watson. The guy was everywhere. He made every possible play that you could. Came on a 3rd and 11, and he went for 17 yards. So tremendous job by him. We only had 1 opportunity on 3rd and short, 1 opportunity 3rd and medium, 3 from 3rd and long, and we were 0 for 1 on 4th down when Jordan Love apparently was going to try to turn into John Elway in the Super Bowl against the Packers and helicopter into the end zone. I was like, what are you doing, guy? You just got better.
You're leaving it out there, dog. Like,
oh, my God.
Just putting it up there.
I was losing my shit. I'm like, dude, we just got you. You just started moving like this again. We haven't seen this all year. We just got you back. Please lay down. I don't care. But I think the more telling thing for me in the 3rd downs when I'm really looking into it and not trying to be a goofball and joke around is we need more attempts at 3rd and short. That means the offense is staying ahead of the change. Where you look at Chicago, they had 7 attempts. 7 out of their 16 attempts were third and short attempts. They were in 3rd and 2 all day long. 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3s all day long. We had 1 attempt from 3rd and short. That's the more telling thing for me. But you know what do I know? I'm just a guy that talks about football on the internet.
Yeah, that you are. Steve said Bears fans must have nightmares of Matt LaFleur creeping under their bed 11-0. Man, Jake made the graphic for the 2,162 days, and it's going to be up until 2025 now.
Yeah. I'll make an updated version when we get there.
Yeah, and man, if they win that game, oh man!
I'll tell you what. If they win that game, they join a list of longest. There's a bunch of win streak stats for divisional opponents. They'll tie a bunch of teams at 12. The longest is 20. I forgot who the 2 teams were, but I know the Patriots and Bills are really close at 17. The Patriots own the Bills 17 games in a row. That is disgusting.
Oh, the J.P. Lossman and Nathan Peterman days.
Oh, God. Imagine being a Bills fan like, come on, JP, let's beat Tom Brady.
Could you imagine playing a team 2 times a year, every year, not beating them once for a decade?
Oh, my. Dude. Why even watch at that point? Oh, my goodness.
So I'd just be like, I'm just going to check my phone when the game's over.
Dude, my favorite part was just watching all the reactions. Like, I even seen a little kid crying on the couch. He made it. No, he didn't, little buddy. Get used to it. You suck. Sorry that your parents did that to you.
I can't believe you do that to your kid. That's
people in Chicago just got to start letting their kids be fans of the NFL.
That's child abuse.
Yeah. Let them be fans of players first. Don't make them Bears fans. That's just mean.
Jason said if Rodgers turns purple, I'll never forgive Bert Favre.
Look at we'll get off track for about 2 seconds, but if you start looking around the NFL, if he's going to play, that's one of the few that makes sense for maybe a year contract.
I think they're going to be ready to go to JJ next year.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wanting to go to JJ next
year. His injury or whatever, he could probably use another year to learn. So,
I wonder if there's any teams in Cali that could use a quarterback for a year. Just thinking about it for him to go home.
Not really. San Francisco, Los Angeles ain't going to take him.
It'd be weird if Stafford retired and they're like, what if we get somebody older? All right. Being the big target on 3rd down to make the big catch was Christian Watson.
Yep.
So the Packers were 3 for 5 in the red zone as well. Justin said Rodgers to the Saints. I think they're going to ride with Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr has been fine when he's healthy for them. 5 trips to the red zone, 3 for 5. Now, you look at how they got to the red zone. The first trip, they got to the red zone. They had the 12 men on defense. They got the touchdown to Reed. The second trip, that was the one that Love threw the interception. The third trip, a big throw to Christian Watson to get them to the 7-yard line. The first play after that, Josh Jacobs runs in for a touchdown. The next trip to the end or to the red zone, big throw to Christian Watson to get him to the 8-yard line.
Mm-hmm.
They go 2 passes, 2 runs, and that's where Love gets stopped at the 1-yard line. So that was one of the failed attempts in the red zone. Fifth trip, 60-yard reception to Christian Watson to the 14-yard line. Love gets to the 1 and then scores on the next play. 3 out of the 5 trips to the red zone came directly on the result of big plays to Christian Watson. So if you're going to use guys in the red zone, fine, whatever. But getting there, to the point of Jason, to the point of Bryant, using Christian Watson, feature him between the 20s. Because he will get you to the red zone, and then you have all the weapons. So, obviously, Josh Jacobs is also a massive part of that, rightfully so, because he's been great. But Christian Watson, fantastic to be directly the reason 3 times that the Packers were in the red zone on 4 catches. So, Christian Watson was the big play guy on Sunday. So, Bryant, any thoughts you have specifically on Jordan Love?
No, I thought he played a really good game. I get it that he overthrew Tucker Kraft on that one. You got to make that throw because it's probably, for me, like I think at minimum it's a first down or it's 4th and like very short and we go for it. But it's possible that Tucker Kraft just runs everyone over for a touchdown as well because we've seen him do it. So other than that one mistake, I thought he played a very good game. I thought he did well. He was efficient. When you complete the ball 13 times and you throw for 250 or 60 yards or whatever it was,
261.
That's very efficient. You averaged 20.1 yards of completion or whatever it was.
That's absurd.
So, yeah, very, very good game from him. I've seen people ripping like, oh, if he makes a better throw to Watson on that diving one. Well, what you don't see is when he lets that ball go, the defender's right on Watson's heels, but he slips.
Did you listen to Watson on?
He threw it to. He was making only plays. He was throwing the ball where only his person had a chance to make a play. Even on the one where he dropped in between the two defenders. If Watson doesn't catch it, the defenders don't really have a chance on it because he threw it far enough across where he was. So I thought he just had a really solid game, and he looked way healthier. I thought his pocket movement was really good, and then I thought there was a couple times he threw absolute piss missiles in there. So like that throw to Jaden Reed for that touchdown was a million miles an hour. Like,
right.
So I thought this was the healthiest has been since game one, and it showed.
Yeah. Steve said Watson is one of the most unheralded players in the league. Absolutely. On that diving play, Watson talked about it. He got jammed off the line, which disrupted his timing on the play.
Yep.
That's something that people just want to be like, oh, Love threw the ball a half second ahead of Christian Watson. Christian Watson was also a half second behind where he was wanting to be because he got jammed at the line. He brought it up when he was asked about it. So it's not just, oh, Jordan Love sucks, put in Malik Willis. Like, you have to, at the very minimum, consider the entire play. Now, you mentioned the interception. Obviously, it was the bad throw. That takes at least 3 points off the board, if not 7. But the other two things that I respect Jordan Love for leaving it all out there. Jordan Love knew he was healthy this game, something that I don't think he could say for most of the season. He knew he was healthy coming into this game, and he played like it. He ran like it. So I respect that. And the last thing that I want to say on Jordan Love, he was 8 for 8 on passes under pressure. That's perfect. I can't even say that's damn good because it's perfect. It's literally perfect.
Yeah.
So, Jake, what were your thoughts on Jordan Love before we move to the 49ers?
Yeah, a few things. Brian said it. I agree. He looked healthy. He was manipulating the pocket. He was stepping in the throws. That was something that we didn't really see when he had the groin injury, the leg injury. He wasn't able to rotate fully.
He's throwing off the back foot a lot.
Yeah, I think that affected his accuracy, quite frankly. Now, every once in a while, he still throws off the back foot, but it's not every pass. It's only when he really needs to, right? But I thought he looked really good. Honestly, he looked awesome. He was moving athletically, like we've all grown to love. The way he was moving was the reason that he got the money that he got. When he's able to move like that, run like that, extend plays, and make throws. That's what we got to watch Rodgers do for 15 years. And then we just continued it, and we made him 6'4", so he's the tallest quarterback in Packers history, 220 pounds. And he's also one of the nicest people that you'll ever meet. He just also throws the ball 70 yards on a football field. So good for him. I love Jordan Love. I'm happy that he's feeling better, and hopefully he can help us turn the tide on the San Francisco thing.
For sure. Steve said I might be overly optimistic, but I like that the Lions appear to be peaking now, not often teams sustain it well into the playoffs.
I thought that too, Steve.
Honestly, they got a little lucky with the Texans too.
Not a little, a lot, but yeah.
Tyler, what did I say to you a couple weeks ago, bro? I was like, dude, the Lions are the team that'll allow the Packers to come in there during the playoffs, and we'll come in there divisional round, we'll smack their ass around for 60 minutes, and then their fans are gonna be like, "Oh my god,
what just happened
this year?"
They've looked.
It could happen to a blue and white team this year.
Yeah. They've been damn good, so we'll see what happens.
All right. So flipping over to the preview side of it, Bryant, what are you looking for from the Packers defense against the 49ers offense?
Yeah, the linebackers need to do whatever the hell they can to try to slow down CMC and Kittle. I'm pretty worried about their coverage this game. I think
I didn't know if he was thinking or frozen.
CMC is back. Sorry, I blacked out there.
You're good.
Okay. So Kittle is his safety valve. So we need to play well against them. I already talked about it. I think that McKinney should wear the green dot, and we should rotate the linebackers around a little bit, put them in more of their positions to succeed. Maybe not put so much on their plate, let them rotate. San Francisco is averaging 5 yards per carry. It's tied for third in the league. If Green Bay allows them to control the clock, we might see like what we've seen against Chicago. However, this team's better, so they might, instead of field goals and stuff, they might be getting touchdowns in those, and it's going to be really hard to beat them like that. Like I said, Kittle has 560 yards and 7 touchdowns on the season. He's going to be targeted in the red zone. So I think we need to try to probably play some safeties and stuff on him. So that's what I'm kind of looking for.
As far as Kittle's concerned, I'd like to see him mix it up. Have Evan Williams on him a little bit, maybe Bullard on him a little bit, maybe Cooper on him a little bit, maybe Eric Wilson on him a little bit, and just mix up what he sees and not let him get comfortable.
And if Kittle wants to take one more game off to make sure his back fully gets healthy, that's okay by me too.
He likes playing against the Packers, though, man.
Yeah. Look, if Green Bay can win this game, we're putting one of our arch nemesis the last decade in a very tough position to make the playoffs. Part of me wants them to make the playoffs as like a 7 seed because I know they can go into someone's house and they can upset them, and then that gives us a chance for a road game.
Detroit.
But, yeah, exactly.
Detroit. I've been thinking that too.
So, but I don't want to lose this game. Obviously, we need to beat them because otherwise we start to do head-to-head math, and it's not in our favor so far with the Eagles, the Vikings, the Lions, whoever else. So this is a big game for us, but if we win this game, it's possible we take one of our biggest threats out, and then who do we have left for a threat? We have the Lions, who we've proven we can beat, in their house, or the Eagles, who we pretty much shot ourselves in the foot all over and over and over again to lose to them at the first game of the season. Other than that, are you scared of Atlanta in the playoffs? No.
Shit, if they make it.
Are you scared of who's the other team right now?
It's going to be Washington.
Well, Washington Eagles. I'm talking about the home leading their division. The South.
Seattle. Right now.
Seattle or the Rams or any of them. You're not super scared of any of them right now.
Right now it's Arizona,
yeah. They're 5-5.
If we can win this game and keep San Francisco out, there's one team I feel like is like someone that we're going to be underdogs to. The rest of the teams, I feel like we have a heads up on them.
Yeah. So Steve's bringing up something that I would like on the defensive line as well. More twists and stunts, kind of more of that stuff that we saw a little bit earlier in the season, where they do the cross cracking.
Yeah.
Where Kenny Clark would be starting lined up over the right guard, and then he would crack the center into the left guard, and you'd have somebody looping around. More stuff like that. Stuff that we saw a little bit earlier this season. And obviously we need 4-man pressure. But as far as the defensive line goes, I'm about 90% certain that our first round pick is going to be a defensive lineman.
Or a corner.
I think D-line is more of a need, in my opinion.
Unfortunately, we give Goody his flowers, but I will say his first 2-3 first round picks, very good. His last one's not great. Wyatt's decent, but when you start talking about LVN, I know he's early yet, not great. Jordan Morgan, no, you can't grade him yet, but Eric Stokes, not so much. Quay Walker, not so much. So
I feel like Eric Stokes is a little bit of bad luck, but I agree with you.
Yeah, but that's hurt us for sure. Is missing on those those first round picks, but that can be an off-season talk.
Completely fair.
I'll give him a pass on at least one of them for getting Rasheed Walker, the starting left tackle, in the 7th.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we got our starting right tackle in the 4th or 5th round, Zach Tom. Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right. So, and I'm going to come back on LVN because, like I said, he's going to be part of another segment that I have. So, Jake, what are you looking for from the Packers defense against the 49ers offense?
So, third downs, Packers defense is 13th in the NFL, allowing 36.13 conversion rate. The 49ers on offense are 4th best in the NFL at 45.38. So they're doing a good job there. That's going to be battle versus battle, top team versus top team, because these things are just separated by that much. So being 13th, you're this close to being number 7.
Right.
In terms of the pass rush, I mean, I said plain and simple, it needs to be more consistent. I'm not going to say the word better, but I would think more consistent throughout the game because I thought the same thing. 2 of our 3 sacks came on the last drive, and I was like, just saying, keep Hassan Riddick away from my fucking team.
Yeah,
He has a goddamn head case. It's the same thing that we talked about with the Brewers with a certain pitcher that I don't want to hear his name ever again.
Yep.
That's exactly how I feel about Hassan Riddick. In terms of red zone defense, I'm glad that you brought up the red zone because, the Packers may be struggling in red zone defense. They're 19th in the NFL. They've given up 20 touchdowns on 34 attempts. The 49ers offense is struggling too. They are 26th in the NFL in red zone offense.
Damn.
20 touchdowns on 41 attempts. That's 48%. So, in terms of third down, that's strength versus strength. And in terms of red zone, it's kind of weakness versus weakness. So whoever comes out on top in those 2 big-time areas is going to be something to look forward to.
Yeah, when I was looking at special teams stuff for this game, I noticed that Moody had kicked 7 field goals inside from 20 to 29 yards. And I was like, damn, they must – the red zone. I didn't look, but because I knew Jake would talk about it. But I was like, man, I bet their red zone offense has struggled a little bit. And sure enough.
Nope, Steve, that's not the one. Justin said, got to watch Pearsall, in my opinion. Steve said, Kenny's career snaps number is growing. Would love to see someone groomed under him for 2 years. I could see that.
Steve, he played in the Mexican baseball league this year. That's the guy.
Yeah. He just seems like a douche, too. Just like seeing all of his social media stuff.
Yeah, he's such a – never mind. I'm just – move on.
All right, Bryant, what are you looking for special teams?
Yeah, I kind of talked about it already, but the 49ers have missed a few kicks, so hopefully that rears its ugly head this weekend. Another stat I noticed, the 49ers are actually only averaging 36.8 yards, net average punt yards, which is 10 yards less than their opponents. So
yikes.
You could say that maybe it's because they're getting to the midfield a lot because half of his punts – well, actually, he just went on IR, but so I don't even know who's punting for them this week. I didn't get look into that, but their punter just went on IR. But half of his kicks had been inside the 20. However, they have given up 9 punt returns for an average of 17.8 yards per return. So I'm hoping Reed will have a couple opportunities to do that this weekend. So I feel like there's an opportunity for the Packers to control the field position a little bit. But 36.8 yard net average punt yards is pretty bad.
J.K. Scott.
Pretty bad.
All right, Jake, what are you looking for? No, let me throw something out there on the coaching first. Sorry. What I'm looking for as far as the coaching is concerned is I want to see Matt LaFleur get the best of his buddy.
Wouldn't be the first time.
The jet sweep occasionally, not in the red zone, and then just keep it simple down there. Trust your players to make plays, and like I said, maybe mix in a jump ball to Christian Watson. He's proven that he can make the contested catches. So I'm going to come back to the red zone when we get to the offensive
trickery
side of the ball.
Flea flicker.
Yeah. Shit, maybe. I don't know. The amount of attention Josh Jacobs is going to get, you could try it probably once.
Yeah.
Maybe save it for Thanksgiving.
Hey, save it for Thanksgiving. I'll be there.
I'll be at this game. So, no, they're using it this game. My birthday, goddammit.
I'd love to see them run it against Detroit, too.
Oh, dude, if we go into Detroit and win again, bro, I'm going to talk all the shit.
So again, the Packers were 3 for 5 in the red zone last week, which is an improvement. I just want to see them stack another 60% week on San Francisco, who, like Jake said, their red zone defense is not good either.
No,
they're allowing 62.5% red zone touchdowns.
Yeah, they are.
That's gross. So
good for us.
Yeah, a very black and white from the red zone offense or the red zone defense that they played last week and the red zone defense that they're playing coming up. So the Packers could stack another 3 for 5 on them this week, maybe even a 4 for 5 and continue to up that red zone percentage. As far as the passing game distribution goes, they still had seven guys targeted, but I'd like to see the ball in all of the playmakers' hands, especially Tucker Kraft. So again, you guys were bringing it up earlier, and we talked about it, the game being shortened, and that's why there not being as many targets available for those guys, especially with Josh Jacobs more involved in the passing game. Steve said it feels like a Kraft game. I would love to have a scenario where Tucker Kraft outplays George Kittle. Kind of a changing of the guard type game would be awesome. Steve said, I'd love to see LaFleur exercise his demons. Kyle's so overrated. Good, yes. Overrated, also yes.
He has beat Kyle, though.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time he beat him.
I would love to beat the shit out of Kyle is what I'd like to do.
I would love to see Jordan Love like double all of Brock Purdy's production as well, so we can stop hearing that stupid conversation.
Oh my God, seriously.
Brock Purdy is a shiny game manager.
That they're about to have to pay a lot of money to.
Yeah, they
Which is
are.
very funny.
Love that.
All right, Jake, what are you looking for from the Packers offense?
Yeah, so in terms of tight ends, obviously I'd love to get Tucker Kraft going. I feel like not only does it open stuff up on the outside because he controls the middle of the field, I feel like he brings an attitude when he's running people over, getting the crowd hyped. This game is going to be at Lambeau. It's a 3:25 kickoff, which, by the way, hot topic, it's the best time for a game. I do like noon games, but 3:25 games are way better. You can do whatever you got to do. You can enjoy the noon games. The 7 o'clock games kind of suck, especially if you're going to them, because then you don't get home till like midnight. Just my opinion. I was thinking about it today. I love the 3:25 window. I would love to get Kraft going in this game. Again, he's kind of an attitude tone setter, along with Josh Jacobs. So imagine handing the ball off to Josh Jacobs 20 times. He runs a couple people over, and then you just throw it to your tight end, and he's also running people over. Imagine being on that defense. That's got to suck. And then you have to try to run with a gazelle that's 6'5". Yeah, good luck. Good luck is all I got to say.
In terms of stubs on defense, but yeah.
In terms of third down, Green Bay offense, they're 22nd in the NFL, converting 36%. That needs to get up. I would like to see them around the 42, 43%. That's where they can kind of continue some drives. This offense has so much potential. We talked about it coming into the year. We still talk about it now. Steve made a comment before talking about how we scored 20 points on 6 possessions, and we took points away from ourselves multiple times.
Yep.
I mean, the potential for this offense is there, obviously. We got playmakers all over the field. In terms of San Francisco defense, they're 25th in the NFL. So they're allowing a lot of third down conversions. They're allowing 43.41%. So, I mean, there's opportunities in this game for the Packers to really do some stuff and right some wrongs that they've had for multiple weeks.
Steve, they have one good corner, but they've had some injuries in their secondary, so they are pretty young back there.
Bobby Wagner is just such a stud for them, so he's just a huge piece for them.
And obviously, Fred Warner, we've talked about in years past.
Or not Bobby Wagner, I meant Fred Warner. Sorry,
yeah. Fred Warner he's the best linebacker in football. I don't think it's sugarcoating it to say that he's the best linebacker in football and very well respected among our show. So
when they can't afford to pay him anymore because they have to pay Brock Purdy, he would look really nice. He would look really nice in green and gold.
Oh, I would love that.
Dude, could you imagine Fred Warner on the second level and McKinney on the third level?
Dude. I'm going to get excited. We keep talking about this. I love Fred Warner, dude.
Jake is edging right now.
Good thing I'm wearing my white pants. Brian, what are you looking for from the Packers offense?
Yeah, so we'll have to keep an eye on whether Bosa plays or not. That's going to be a huge piece. If he doesn't, even if he plays, I think he'll be limited. And if he plays, we were kind of talking about this. I hope they run at him a lot or do whatever they need to get him uncomfortable. But if he doesn't play, Packers get a little lucky there because he has 7 sacks on the year. But however, he has over a quarter or a fourth of their sacks. So they're kind of like the Packers. They've actually kind of struggled in the pass rush. So they do have Greenlock.
Man, he's thinking hard this episode.
On my internet right now.
I know you call it a pipeline internet.
Yeah, do I need to re-say what I said, or did that come through?
No, you need to re-say it.
Okay, so they'll have to keep an eye on whether Bosa plays or not. He's had 7 of their 26 sacks, so he's producing more than 25% of their sacks. So kind of like us, they struggle to produce sacks. So if he's out, that's going to be a big loss for them. And even if he plays, I think he'll be limited. And kind of like what we talked about, I think they need to run at him if he's in, and I think they need to make him very uncomfortable as fast as they can to see. I'm not advocating to hurt him or anything, but if you can flare his injury up or his discomfort up because you're making him make a lot of plays, then do that. Even if it hurts your drives at the very first beginning of the game, it'll pay dividends.
Yeah.
San Francisco's, They can be ran on. They give up 4.3 yards per carry, but they've also given up the 8th most rushing touchdowns at 13. So if Green Bay can get the running game going, I think we can run on them. So, and the big thing there, just like they're going to try to do us, is keep us off the field. If we can get the running game going, we can keep them off the field. Yeah. They're very good against the pass too. They've given up 11 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, so they will take the ball away. But kind of like Jake talked about, they're the 8th worst percentage in stopping third downs in the league. So hopefully we can stay on the field. But the wide receivers are going to need to make the plays that they're there for them. I do hope we get Tucker Kraft involved, and then I'm excited to see what the running game can do.
All right, so you mentioned Bosa already. What other injury designations should we be keeping an eye on for Sunday?
Yeah, Kittle has a hamstring injury, but he's expected to return to practice tomorrow, so we'll have to see how that goes. Purdy is day-to-day with shoulder soreness. I haven't heard a lot come out that they actually think he'll miss the game or anything. But that could be you coming up and playing, and it's not going to be super cold, but it's not going to be super warm either. You're playing in that weather, you know what I mean? So we'll have to keep an eye on that. For the Packers, it's just watching Ja. I'm wondering if, they're still going to sit him for a game or two, or if maybe they recognize early in that game, okay, he's not 100%, but if we pull him out now, let him rest, there's a chance he'll play this week. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. I wouldn't expect him to practice tomorrow. I'd almost guarantee he'd probably be non-participant, and then just see if we can go from non to limited to full, or limited, and then he can play. Other than that, well, I haven't heard anything of anything else. One of their defensive tackles was questionable, and he's the one with 3.5 sacks too. So he's another one of their producers, but we'll have to keep an eye on those.
For sure. Jake, what's the weather going to be like?
It's going to feel like November, I'm going to tell you that. Mostly cloudy, high around 43 degrees. The real feel is 37 degrees. So it's starting to feel like November. Cool. Wind southeast at 5 to 10 miles an hour, but honestly, pretty mild day, especially compared to the weather last night. I don't know if it rained by you, Tyler, but it was just pissing out here all night long. It was terrible.
It did do us, and now it's snowing right now.
Oh,
it'll be my wife's first game in Lambeau, so I was hoping we get like a snow game, but as least knock on wood that it's not a rain game. That would be miserable, but it looks like it's going to be fine weather. 37, like you said, 40 degrees. We'll be fine. So
yeah, it'll be a nice game to be at. Honestly, hopefully you walk out of there with a W.
Yeah.
All right. So Bryant, what is your matchup to watch?
Kind of like I've alluded to, it's got to be our linebackers / safeties against Kittle and CMC. I do wonder if this is where they bring Evan Williams up to the line more, or McKinney up to the line more, and try to blanket one of those guys and kind of take that out of the game. Like if McKinney can take Kittle out of the game, I feel like that really takes something away from Purdy. So however we need to do that, I do think they need to have a strong game on those two for us to have, a good shot to win here.
Yeah. Jake, what's your matchup to watch?
My matchup is Reed Kraft versus Warner and Campbell. If you look at the good 49ers defense of the last, I'll say 5 years, I'll just make it small. They have two linebackers in the middle that really control the middle of the field. They have the 4 pass rushers that go out to quarterback, and then it doesn't matter who they have at corner and safety, because those guys have the easiest job in the world because they have the sideline to help them. The middle of the field is taken away. The pass rush is getting to the quarterback in 3 seconds. Pretty easy to be a corner safety on that team, right? So I really think that Reed and Kraft have to own the middle of the field. If we can own the middle of the field and dominate the middle, I think the running game will be better, and I think it'll be more opportunities down the boundary for guys like Watson, like we've been talking about.
So I went the coordinator route, and I went with Jeff Hafley versus Clay Kubiak, the play caller for the 49ers.
I like it.
There's Justin says 6 end arounds coming this week. I don't know about 6 end arounds, but Jaden Reed will be running back and forth laterally for sure.
Justin, if we run 4 end arounds, I'm finding you, and you're getting a knuckle sandwich, buddy.
So Hafley versus Clay Kubiak, the 49ers likely noticed that the best defense against the Packers offense is time of possession and short passing to keep them off the field. There's no way that anybody in the NFL didn't watch the Packers and Bears play last week and see that the Bears were able to keep the Packers offense to 6 possessions by playing the short game. So that's that. So for me is if Hafley can counter that. That's what we were talking about, the coaching aspects of it, that I wanted to see those adjustments in the second half. Can we just see those adjustments from Chicago to San Fran?
Yeah.
All right. Bryant, who is your X factor?
I chose Evan Williams. because I feel like he could have a whether, and maybe I'm mixed up, and maybe it'll be Evan Williams on Kittle and them. Otherwise, either way, if it's McKinney on Kittle, that means Evan Williams is playing a big part on the back roll. So for me, Evan Williams, whatever role he's asked to play this game is going to be big, because we know McKinney's going to do his job, and they might use him to race somebody. So that means Evan Williams needs to do his job. So this could be a game where he comes down with a pick or something like that too, because I think he could be targeted. He could have some opportunities, because we haven't even talked about Deebo Samuel yet.
Yeah. Jake, who is your X factor?
I want you to go first. I want to go last in this one. You go ahead.
I've been kind of teasing this for a big chunk of the episode. My X factor is Lucas Van Ness.
Oh.
Now, I'm bringing this up because I noticed this multiple times, and I said it earlier in the show. I feel like he's this close to being able to break out, because I noticed multiple times where he was in the wrong place at the right time. I noticed multiple times where it's just like, man, if he just reads this as the running back and not the quarterback. There were at least 2, and I think there was 3 plays where Lucas Van Ness could have blown plays up in the backfield, because he was there. He just made the wrong read.
Okay.
So I really think he's close. And that's hopefully something that they can coach him up on, or hopefully something that he's able to just grow with. Again, we're talking the second year, or halfway through his second year in the league.
Yeah.
And last year didn't play a ton and was playing kind of like outside linebacker more than defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
So being a second-year player already in your second scheme, I think there could be a little bit of grace given there. But there were several times where he's in the backfield where the play is taking place, and he just goes with the wrong player.
Yeah.
Strip sack, some fumble or something would be real nice.
Oh.
Honestly, I think he could blow a play up in the backfield in the run game. Is kind of how I'm feeling.
That would feed families if he gets a strip sack, I gotta say.
That would be awesome. Steve said probably Nixon too. The short passing game means he'll be busy. Justin said Halfley in the play calling on defense. Got to stop the screen passes. And here's the thing: even if they don't, I'm not expecting everything to be stopped and clamped, because Kittle and McCaffrey are both fantastic.
Yeah.
And Deebo.
And Deebo, obviously, yes, as well. So, Jake, who is your X factor?
We keep talking about the Deebos and the Kittles and the CMCs. You guys know who Brock Purdy likes on third downs, on third and longs?
Juwan
Jennings. Juwan Jennings is my X factor. He has been super big time for them this year with all the injuries they've had. Their rookie Parasol was in a freak accident with being shot by a gun. I mean, that's absolutely insane. To start your NFL career, you don't even take a snap. You get shot before you take a snap. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's tough.
All the drama they had with Ayuk coming into the season, and he gets put on IR. There's just a lot of turmoil going on in San Francisco right now, and Juwan Jennings has been probably the one player. I mean, the CMC injury didn't start out well for them either, but he's been the one kind of consistent player for them, in my opinion. He plays almost every game. He makes big time catches. He runs every route. He plays every position for the wide receivers. Juwan Jennings is the guy on that offense. You stop him, he's the big play guy.
Yeah.
You stop him and you control the outside run game, Packers got a shot.
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, as far as Packers having a shot, I think even if this turns into a straight-up shootout, the Packers still have a shot.
If it turns into a shootout, the Packers are winning. I think 49ers have to keep it a little bit more low-scoring.
That's fair. All right. Well, with that said, Bryant, give me your score prediction from the head.
I put 24-27 Packers.
All right. Did a little switcheroo there with the scores. All right.
Yeah, why do you do that? You always
I don't know. 27-24 Packers.
Thank you.
All right, Jake, what's your score prediction from the head?
I also have Packers scoring 27, but I have the Niners scoring 20.
All right. I have 26-24 Packers.
Oh, God. The heart attack Packer back at it again, baby.
This feels like a really close matchup. You brought up the strengths being strengths and weaknesses being weaknesses. Steve said, I got to say, I have to eat crow with Josh Myers. He's been good. He really has. And the one game that we didn't have him, it looked like we needed him.
It showed.
Yeah. All right, Bryant, what's your score prediction from the heart?
It's the same as Jake's from the head. So I put 27-20 Packers.
Nice.
I have 28-20.
Oh, Okay. This is the one where I have Packers winning 30-17.
I would love you do that. Would be so awesome.
I see a route towards it being possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just going to jump in because I said this with my heart prediction is 28 points, which is 4 touchdowns. So my offensive Simon Says is 4 different players with touchdowns.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that so much. All day, baby. All day. One thing that kind of bothers me is when a good Packers wide receiver has a good game. Like Reed was having good games, and then Dobbs had that good game, and then Watson this last weekend had a good game, and then people are like, "Why don't we throw him the ball all the time?" The strength for the Packers wide receiver room is that anybody on any fucking day can go fucking bonkers.
I feel like I've been saying that for like 2 years now.
Tucker Kraft didn't even get a catch this last week.
Yep.
What if he goes off and has 3 touchdowns? We don't know.
If we were talking next Tuesday and we said that Dontavian Wicks went for 6 for 93 yards and a touchdown, I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I wouldn't be surprised either.
There's
So
not
I
a single
absolutely
Packer
don't
that I
think
would be
it's one.
surprised if they had 5 for 95 and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, anything can happen. It could be Bo Melton. Jesus, we don't know.
I wouldn't be
really don't know.
surprised, like I said, and that's why my Simon Says was 4 different players with touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised if Watson, Dobbs, and Reed all had touchdowns, and then Jacobs ran one in.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
It wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Bryant, you got one for offense?
I do. I put Jordan Love has his first interception-free game to go along with 225 yards passing and 2 touchdowns.
Easy money.
Easy. I'd bet $100 on that right now. Send it to the bank, baby.
All right, Jake, what do you got?
I have. I just said all that about wide receivers, but I'm really amped up about Jaden Reed right now. I think Jaden Reed has 12 catches, 175 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Jesus. I don't think they pass enough for him to have 12.
He's not gonna have 12 catches. But I was like, I gotta go bold, dude. I gotta go double digits.
If you cut the catches and yards in half, I'll say yes.
That's fair. Also, I need it for fantasy. So
Oh.
I have
Okay.
Reed in 2
Justin
leagues.
said 24-21 from the head, 24-14 from the heart. And then he says Javon Bullard breaks Jennings in half and causes a fumble return for a score.
Oh,
That would be
a little aggressive. I also love a little aggressive, so I'm gonna say
as long as it's legal. As long as it's
Yeah.
legal.
yeah,
Yeah, we don't need like a targeting or anything like that.
yeah.
All right. Defense. Bryant, give me your defensive, Simon Says.
I put that San Francisco averages 398 yards per game. The Packers hold them to less than 300.
I can see it.
I'm going to be honest. I feel like one of Kittle or McCaffrey has to not play for that to keep him under 3. Unless the Packers offense is like slow and methodical. So, all right, there it is. There's the route to it.
See it. Go ahead, Tyler.
Mine, I have Brock Purdy, 2 interceptions.
Oh, bro, luckiest guy in the league the last couple of years. He deserves all the interceptions right now.
All right, give me yours.
I went fucking bonkers this week. The Packers contain CMC, hold them to under 70 total yards. There's no way in hell. There's
It's
zero
possible.
chance.
Not likely.
Dude, 70 total? There's no way. No way.
They would have to be bottling.
20
They would have to be
25
really,
touchdowns.
really bottling up the run game for it to be possible, I think.
Yeah, but he
So-
also catches the ball.
That's
I'm
what
going
I'm
to throw this
saying.
out there again with the yardage because Bryant just brought up yardage. Like if they can lengthen their offensive possessions to shorten the 49ers offensive possessions and, a couple 3 and outs, and then you're talking, winning the time of possession like 35-25, something like that.
Yeah.
There's an avenue there as long as you're limiting the big plays, obviously. Justin said offense. Jaden Reed throws a touchdown.
That'd be awesome.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think anybody but Jordan Love or potentially Malik Willis throws a pass for the Packers ever.
I think the only one I could see doing it would be Tucker Kraft because he played quarterback.
Yeah.
Oh,
Dude,
man. Tucker
Dude,
Kraft
imagine they
rushing
do
touchdown.
that set where he goes under center and he snaps it and throws it up. Oh, I'd lose my shit. I would lose my absolute shit, dude.
Bro, could you imagine they line Tucker Kraft up under center like they're going to do the Kraft
Yeah.
shaft up the middle.
We gotta think of a different name for that, or maybe that's the perfect one. I don't know.
And instead of doing that with Jordan Love standing behind him, like Kraft takes the snap, tosses it back to Jordan Love, and then they throw a pass.
I can't believe you just said that. All right. Yep.
Everything's got to have a rhyming name since Philly came up with a dumb touch
You
push.
couldn't think of anything other than Shaft, huh?
You tell me. I'll give you 15 seconds to tell me how many words you can think of that rhyme with Kraft that also involve moving forward.
Why is Shaft dealing with moving forward? Oh boy.
Welcome to West Coast Fanatics After Dark. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody who hung around with us for this moment. Probably the best part of the show. We appreciate it. It does help us a lot for people to stick around and watch the whole show or even watch bits and pieces of it. All of the viewership that we get, it does help us. I can't say specifically how it's going to potentially help us in the very near future, but we are working on some stuff that hopefully we have news to share soon. Potentially by the end of the month is when we're hoping to have some more news to share. So again, we appreciate it, and we will see you guys next Tuesday, and you can see Jake and I tomorrow to talk about the Bucks Badgers basketball and football. So we will be live for that as well tomorrow at 4:00. And yes, Justin, the Bears still suck. Go Pack, go 11 times in a row.